Germans couldn't believe a city wouldn't fall until Leningrad survived 872 days. September 8, 1941. Southern approaches to Leningrad, Soviet Union. The last rail line into Leningrad is cut just after noon. German artillery observers positioned on higher ground south of the city watch as smoke rises from the tracks near Manga. Within hours, word spreads through Army Group North headquarters. The encirclement is complete. Leningrad, the Soviet Union's second-largest city, is now isolated by land. Nearly 3 million people are trapped inside. To the German High Command, this moment marks the end of a campaign phase. To Adolf Hitler, it marks the beginning of something final. Leningrad will not be stormed. It will not be negotiated with. It will be erased. The city is to be starved into submission. What German planners do not believe, what they cannot believe, is that Leningrad will survive nearly 2.5 years under siege. June 22, 1941. The invasion begins. The road to Leningrad begins months earlier. At dawn on June 22, 1941, German forces crossed the Soviet border along a front stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea. Operation Barbarossa, the largest land invasion in history, commits over 3 million Axis troops. Army Group North, under Field Marshal Wilhelm Ritter von Leeb, advances through the Baltic states toward Leningrad. The objective is clear. Leningrad is not just a city, it is the birthplace of the Bolshevik Revolution. It is a major industrial center, a naval base, and a symbol. Hitler wants it destroyed. The German advance is rapid. Soviet frontier units are overrun. Entire divisions are encircled. Luftwaffe bombers strike airfields, rail yards, and columns on the road. Within weeks, German armored spearheads reach the Daugava River. The Red Army is reeling. July 1941, the race north. As German forces push through Latvia and Estonia, resistance stiffens but does not halt the advance. Soviet counterattacks are hurried, poorly coordinated, and costly. Units are thrown into battle without adequate support. The terrain, forests, swamps, and poor roads slows movement, but not enough. By mid-July, German units are within 100 miles of Leningrad. Inside the city, preparations begin. Anti-aircraft batteries are emplaced on rooftops. Trenches are dug in parks and along boulevards. Factories shift to wartime production, turning out artillery shells, mines, and small arms. Civilians are mobilized. Women, teenagers, and the elderly carry sandbags and dig tank traps. The city has been warned. It will be defended. August 1941. The noose tightens. German forces reach Lake Ladoga to the east and the Gulf of Finland to the west. Finnish troops advancing from the north after joining the war alongside Germany reclaim territory lost in the Winter War. Though Finnish command stops short of assaulting the city itself, their presence completes the strategic encirclement. On August 20th, German artillery begins firing into Leningrad's suburbs. The Luftwaffe launches sustained bombing raids. Food warehouses are hit. Power stations burn. Fires spread through residential districts. On September 8th, the last land route is severed. The siege has begun. The German plan. German expectations are explicit. Hitler issues orders stating that Leningrad is not to be occupied. Its population is not to be fed. The city is to be surrounded and destroyed by artillery and air power. If the population attempts to surrender, it is to be turned away. The Germans estimate the city will collapse within weeks. They are wrong. Autumn 1941, hunger arrives. Food supplies inside Leningrad are limited. The city had not been stocked for a prolonged siege. As rail lines are cut, rationing begins immediately. Bread rations are reduced, meat disappears, fats vanish. By November, the daily bread ration for most civilians falls to 250 grams, then 125. The bread itself is barely bread at all. Flour mixed with cellulose, sawdust, and fillers. Temperatures drop early, fuel is scarce. Electricity is rationed, then cut entirely in many districts. Trams stop running, water mains freeze. People begin to die. Winter 1941 to 1942. The darkest months. The winter of 1941 is one of the coldest on record. Temperatures fall below minus 30 degrees Celsius. Without fuel, residents burn furniture, books, and wooden floors to stay warm. Pipes burst. Sewage backs up. Snow drifts into apartments through broken windows. The dead are everywhere. Bodies lie in stairwells and on sidewalks, wrapped in blankets or left uncovered. Families lack the strength to bury their own. City authorities collect corpses by sled, hauling them to mass graves. Starvation weakens even the strong. People collapse in the streets. Workers die at their machines. And yet the city does not surrender. Defense under siege. The Red Army maintains a defensive ring around Leningrad. Artillery units return fire daily. Naval guns from the Baltic Fleet are turned inland to support ground defenses. Factories continue operating, often underground. Tanks and artillery are assembled within range of German guns. Despite hunger and exhaustion, soldiers hold the line. The Germans are surprised by the intensity of resistance. Attempts to break through Soviet defenses in September and October are repulsed. Casualties mount. The front stabilizes. Leningrad remains encircled, but unconquered. The road of life. Lake Ladoga becomes the city's lifeline. In late autumn, as the lake begins to freeze, Soviet engineers prepare a supply route across the ice. Trucks are driven out onto the frozen surface, spaced carefully to avoid cracking the ice. This route becomes known as the Road of Life. At night, under Luftwaffe attack, convoys bring in flour, fuel, and ammunition. On the return trip, they evacuate children, the sick, and the wounded. Many trucks break through the ice and vanish into the lake. Drivers know the risk. They drive anyway. Without the Road of Life, Leningrad would die. 1942, a city endures. Spring brings no relief. Food remains scarce. Mortality remains high. Disease spreads. Cannibalism appears in isolated cases, punished severely by authorities desperate to maintain order. But the city adapts. Gardens are planted in every available space. Parks become fields. People eat anything remotely edible. Glue, leather, and animal feed are consumed. Cultural life continues in defiance. Radio broadcasts play music. Dmitri Shostakovich completes his 7th symphony inside the city. It is performed in August 1942 by an orchestra assembled from starving musicians, broadcast by loudspeakers toward German lines. The message is unmistakable. Leningrad lived. German frustration. By 1942, German confidence has eroded. The siege has tied down significant forces. Supplies must be brought forward through poor infrastructure. Soviet artillery continues to fire. Counterattacks are constant. Army Group North lacks the strength to storm the city, and Hitler refuses to divert resources for an assault he considers unnecessary. Leningrad is supposed to die on its own. It does not. January 1943, Operation Iskra. The Red Army prepares a breakthrough. Soviet forces north and south of Lake Ladoga coordinate an offensive to open a narrow land corridor into the city. On January 12, 1943, artillery barrages begin. Infantry advance through snow and ice under heavy fire. Losses are severe, but on January 18th, Soviet units link up near the village of Minonga. A land corridor, less than 10 kilometers wide, is opened. The siege is not over, but it is cracked. Rail lines are laid immediately. Supplies begin to flow more steadily. Leningrad breathes again. 1943. Turning the tide. Conditions inside the city slowly improve. Rations increase modestly. Power returns in stages. Factories resume more regular output. German forces attempt to close the corridor but fail. The strategic situation has changed. German defeats elsewhere, Stalingrad, Kursk, shift the balance of the war. Resources are diverted. Army Group North is increasingly on the defensive. Leningrad holds. January 1944. The siege is lifted. On January 14, 1944, Soviet forces launch a massive offensive along the Leningrad front. Artillery fires in overwhelming volume. German defenses crack. Within days, German units are pushed back tens of kilometers. On January 27th, the siege of Leningrad is officially lifted. After 872 days, the city is free. The cost. The cost is staggering. An estimated 1 million civilians have died, most from starvation. Entire neighborhoods are depopulated. Families are erased. The city is scarred physically and psychologically, but it stands. German planners had believed Leningrad would collapse within weeks. Instead, it endured one of the longest and deadliest sieges in history. Aftermath. Leningrad rebuilds. The war continues, but the city's survival becomes a symbol of Soviet resistance.